Welcome to Wagon Train Wednesdays, presented by the Archway. Driving along just north of the Platte River, travelers who zip under the Archway on today's I-80 are following in the footsteps of the pioneers who crossed the country in the wagon trains of long ago. The path along the river in the land that would become Nebraska was well known to Native Americans who used it for centuries to cross the country. When the pioneers moved westward, it became the route for the Oregon, California, and Mormon trails. From the 1840s to the 1870s, so many people used the trail along the river that it became known as the Great Platte River Road. When technology changed and automobiles became popular, the first transcontinental highway, the Lincoln Highway, was established. And as early as the 1920s, the U.S. Congress began researching routes for a nationwide system of express highways. Through the years of the Depression and World War II, discussion of the development of a strategic highway network continued, but Congress couldn't decide on a method to fund the project. Then, in 1952, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, who had served as the Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force in Europe during World War II and the Supreme Commander of NATO after the war, was elected president in a landslide victory. Early in his military career, Eisenhower had participated in a convoy of military vehicles that crossed the country in order to test the Army's ability to quickly cross the continent. The convoy took 62 days for the 3,251-mile journey and had many delays due to poor road conditions. When he saw Germany's Autobahn system during World War II, Eisenhower became convinced of the need to improve America's highways. As president, Eisenhower was a strong advocate for his vision of highway improvement, and in 1956, he signed the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956. The act initiated one of the greatest public works projects in history, the building of America's Interstate Highway System. It was estimated that the new highway system would take 12 years to complete and that the total cost would be $25 billion. In the end, building the highway took 35 years and cost $114 billion. But the interstate highway system has resulted in benefits that are valued at many times the cost of building it. They include safety and mobility for the nation's motorists and ease of economic activity for our businesses. In 1974, Nebraska was the first state to complete its 455-mile segment of the interstate highway system. On October 19th of that year, a crowd gathered at the spot 6 miles west of Sidney to mark the opening of the final mainline section of I-80 in Nebraska. The Golden Link, a brass-topped section of channel iron, was embedded in the roadway to mark the achievement, just as the Golden Spike had marked the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. In central Nebraska, the route of I-80 closely follows the path along the Platte River that had been first used by Native Americans and that was later known as the Great Platte River Road. It is the history of this trail that the Archway commemorates today. In 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed legislation that formally changed the name of the Interstate Highway System from the National System of Interstate and Defense Highways to the Dwight D. Eisenhower System of Interstate and Defense Highways. Learn more about President Dwight D. Eisenhower and our interstate highway system. Find these books at your local library or online. Dwight D. Eisenhower, Young Military Leader by George E. Stanley, and The Big Roads, the untold story of the engineers, visionaries, and trailblazers who created America's superhighways by Earl Swift. Be sure to follow the Archway's Facebook page and check back next Wednesday for another episode of Wagon Train Wednesdays.